What's going on, everyone? This is RRPG here, and I'm here to present another 2 cents video on the 2 cents block for you all. Before I get started, I wanted to make a little disclaimer and reminder about my 2 cents videos. I'm not going to name this individual who harassed me in the last video I made, but let me just say that he clearly was in the wrong direction in thinking what my opinion piece videos like the 2 cent stuff I talk about are supposed to be. What I say is based on stuff posted online that are official news stories, or even words from what people say on gaming sites or even in social media. After I briefly talk about it, I vocalize about what I truly feel towards what was said in that news piece or quote on whether it is right or wrong and why I feel that way. My own opinions are just that, not ones where they are facts, even in my rants, because they are still personal beliefs. If any of you cannot accept that or are still completely this blind to what I and many others do when working on content like this, I pity you greatly. I take constructive criticism very well, but when it resorts to just attacking with words, name-calling, or just the sheer stupidity and retardedness of not cooling down when I try to make amends while you end up using words that I said just to try and falsely prove your point, then you can go elsewhere as my content is not for you. I will not even put up with this crap because that just shows your disrespect and cowardice towards one's own beliefs. Now, without further delay, on with the video at hand. For this video alone, we are going to retread some ground and talk about Bayonetta 2 once more. Remember when I've been raising rants and vocalized my thoughts on why exclusivity matters even if a first party picks up publishing duties, even for a third party game? Well, it seems that the mastermind behind both the original Bayonetta and the wonderful 101 shares the same feeling as I do. Recently, Hideki Kamiya from Platinum Games has been leaving little snippets toward folks who have continually displayed their discontent and disrespect at the fact that Bayonetta 2 being a Wii U exclusive by saying that they should ask the big N for Bayonetta 2 to end up on the PS4 and Xbox One. But that is pretty much wishful thinking when we think about it from that angle. However, Kamiya-san has vocalized his full thoughts on the matter as to why Bayonetta 2 ended up being a Wii U exclusive just recently. This is what he had to say based on a long post on Twitter about the game. I think I've discussed this many times before, but here goes. First of all, we Platinum Games are developers and receive support from publishers by making games that they request or suggest. As for Bayonetta, we developed the game after signing a deal with Sega. Later, it was decided to also develop the sequel, so we started working on Bayonetta 2. When development had progressed to a certain degree, in Sega's situation it turned into, this isn't a good plan, so development halted temporarily. Without funding, we didn't have the possibility to continue development, but we wanted to get this partially developed Bayonetta 2 available to the public one way or another, so we offered it to various publishers, but as it is a big title, we couldn't find a partner company. Finally, Bayonetta 2 was about to get terminated completely when Nintendo came in and lent a hand, and we were able to restart the development we so desired. Finally, the game was released last week, so in 5 years, we were able to make Bayonetta 2 available to the public. Knowing those circumstances, if someone is still angry for heading towards Nintendo, I wonder what's the reason for that. Wouldn't you tell me in a way that is easy to understand? As I have said earlier, if you want Bayonetta 2 on PS4 or Xbox One, how about trying to ask Nintendo? If Nintendo doesn't say yes, it's not going to happen. While you're at it, try asking for Mario and Zelda too. All joking aside from Mario and Zelda, as we know those games are Nintendo's babies when it comes to their business strategy to help succeed the company along with many others, but Hideki Kamiya is completely right about the whole thing, as that is what I've been saying all along. If a first-party company like Nintendo, Sony, or even Microsoft ends up publishing a game under their name, even if it is from a third-party game that even started out as a third-party series since the beginning, then whoop-de-freaking-do. That is how business is supposed to be when you look at it from that perspective. Platinum Games is completely independent, as they are asked to develop games for a publisher with any of them under their name, and Nintendo stepping in to publish Bayonetta 2 as a Wii U exclusive was probably one of the most delightful blessings that we received, as that game could have ended up in obscurity otherwise. The other thing that we also got to remember was that Sega was not in really good shape back after Bayonetta got released. Sega was in financial trouble when they suffered huge losses in 2010, to where most of their projects they worked on had to get shut down and them focusing on their more popular franchises such as Sonic the Hedgehog, Yakuza, Total War, and the Aliens lineup of games. Since Sega already completed their 4-game deal with Platinum Games, they became a bit more realistic with their financial standings and decided that it wasn't best for them to publish another Bayonetta game, so Platinum Games had to look for someone else. We also got to remember that Platinum Games has full rights to their IPs, if a publisher doesn't want them for themselves, despite Sega being a franchise advisor on the sequel. If Bayonetta 2 ends up as a smash hit for Nintendo, there's still a strong possibility that they will want to continue to work with the developer on future projects, which will most likely be the case regardless. Speaking of which, I really don't get all this flack that a first party gets when they get publishing rights for a game that could either be fully or timed exclusives. I always think of it as a way for us to be happy that an original game or a sequel will become a reality, even if the first party picks it up as an exclusive and possibly becomes an IP for them in the future. But the general public thinks otherwise, as they feel that it is anti-consumer to them for games being like that. No. If anything, it's the other way around, as it is anti-consumer for those not supporting, respecting, or even acknowledging the reason for a game like Bayonetta 2 escaping from the clutches of obscurity. That part of gaming still matters in this day and age, like back in 1985 with the NES, because if a console doesn't have its exclusives, as they are fishing bait for those who still weren't sold and buying the platform, it would bomb. Same thing for the Wii U, PS4, and Xbox One, as not even having their own exclusives would make all of them equally pointless to own. If the Wii U didn't have Bayonetta 2, or Devil's Third, or even Hyrule Warriors, I wouldn't own a Wii U for that. If Sony didn't have something like Bloodborne or even Uncharted 4, then I probably wouldn't have a reason to keep my PS4. If Microsoft didn't have games like Dead Rising 3, Sunset Overdrive, or even the upcoming Rise of the Tomb Raider, I wouldn't even consider buying an Xbox One in the future. What are most of the games that I have mentioned from all three sides? They are third-party exclusives or first-party titles developed mostly by a third party. Most of these started out as third-party games that were multi-platform releases, but they won't remain the same in the future if you keep a hold of that mentality if circumstances change. In Bayonetta 2's case, that is how it came to be like that, so I really don't understand this insatiable desire to make things always be multi-platform titles, as there's always a risk to that, which could determine a game or publisher stands on the platform, with many of these third-party companies like EA, Ubisoft, and even Konami has been continuously giving the cold shoulder to the Wii U. However, if it comes to a third-party game like Bayonetta 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, or even Bloodborne becomes an exclusive third-party title on any of the three platforms I mentioned, I hold on to that belief that you have three choices. 1. You buy the console to play games that really pique your interest, even if it is a third-party exclusive. 2. Respect and acknowledge that they are getting made and being exclusive on the platforms if you can't own them. Or 3, you can just go sit in a corner and not even bother playing those games at all, which there are still a few who are still blindsided and fickle from my point of view that it is very ridiculous. In the end, I'm just going to say that these excuses on why a game like Bayonetta 2, Devil's Third, or even Rise of the Tomb Raider should be a multi-platform title when they are getting made, because if you don't understand how business works in the gaming industry with stuff like exclusivity, then you really are not helping matters in the slightest. I'm telling you guys, this one-sided nature that many of you still have with no respect is why gaming is not doing so hot and why another video game crash is becoming more and more likely every day. We must be more open-minded and respectful, or else gaming is going to suffer an even bigger crash than what happened in 1983. Alright folks, make sure you rate this video as well as leaving your points and counterpoints in the comments. Also be sure to hit that subscribe button below the video, as more support from you guys means that more content is coming from me in the future that you won't find anywhere else. Until next time, this is RRPG signing off by saying Godspeed and game on gamers. Have a good one.